Thank you. I'm Mr. Lehner, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Mr. Lehner's Math Extravaganza. In today's webisode, we're going to take a look at estimating and ordering rational numbers. I know it's your personal favorite, and today it's going to be mine too. Let's not waste any more time. Let's jump into the action here and take a look at what we're talking about. Alright, when we're talking about estimating and ordering rational numbers, I have a problem up here for you guys. What I want you to take a look at is which fraction here is the greatest. We have 4/3, 5/4, 9/8, and 3/4. So before we do any type of strategies, let's just take a look and see if we notice any commonalities or conjectures we can find from looking at our fractions up here. I noticed that the first three fractions here, the numerator is bigger than the denominator. And my last one, the numerator is smaller than the denominator because 3 is less than 4. So when I'm looking at this, what does that tell me? 3/4 of a fraction. What does that mean? Oh, that's right. 3/4 is part of a whole, and since you only have 3 out of 4, I don't have a whole, I just have 3 parts out of 4. But if I look at 4/3, 5/4, and 9/8, if I have 4/3, I know that 3/3 is a whole, so I have more than a whole. 5/4 is more than a whole, and 9/8 is more than a whole. So when I look at suspect A, suspect B, suspect C, and suspect D, I can already cross off D before doing any types of specific strategies because I know that these three are all greater than 1, and this guy down here is less than 1. So right off the bat, I've eliminated suspect D, and I've narrowed my search down to my 3 here. It's kind of like a little mini Criminal Minds episode here. Only fractions are the bad guys and not people. Alright, moving on. Let's not get sidetracked. Now I know when looking at these 3 here, you may have noticed that 4 is 1 more than 3, 5 is 1 more than 4, and 9 is 1 more than an eighth. So, they're all equal, right, Mr. Lehner? Yeah, you guys are right. They're all equal. I don't even know why I put this problem up here. What are we doing? This is all equal, right? No, they are all 1 more the numerator than the denominator here. But what's the big difference in here when we're talking about fractions? That's right. You got to look at the denominator, right? I got a 1/3 here, I got a 1/4 here, and I got an 1/8 here. I like chocolate, so I'm going to think of this like chocolate candy or candy bars. If I have a candy bar and I have 4/3, I'm breaking up the candy bar into 3 equal parts. I'm breaking it up into 4 equal parts, and I'm breaking it up into 8 equal parts. I'm a visual learner. I like to see things. So let's see. How could I think about this? Ooh, you like how I did that? Little magic over here. A candy bar just appeared. Let's take a look at thirds here. If this is my candy bar, this is 1/3, this is 2/3, this is 3/3. That would be a full candy bar. And a 4/3 would be 1 piece of the next candy bar. So I just broke it into thirds. Well, how can I do that with fourths? Ooh, you're right. I can break it up into 4 equal parts. So there's 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, which is the entire whole piece, and then 5/4 would have been an extra piece added on. So I broke up my candy bar here into equal parts because I looked at my denominator. Now let's look at the 8s here. You probably guess what's going to happen to the candy bar. It's kind of sad here. Ooh, we got to break it up into 8 equal parts. 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8 or a half, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, 8/8, and then 1 more 8th would be my 9th 8th. So for each one of these 3, we have a full candy bar and then a fraction of the next candy bar. Oh, don't worry, I didn't leave 3/4 out. I still put them down there. 3/4, even though suspect D got eliminated, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, we're done. This red area, we don't even have that last 4th there. So, we only got 3 out of the 4 parts. We don't even have a full candy bar. So that guy, he's already gone. We've eliminated him. Now, when thinking about which is the greatest fraction, think about what has the greatest parts here. 4/3 is going to be our greatest fraction because I'm breaking this up into 3 equal parts, and a 1/3 is bigger than a 4th, and a 1/3 is bigger than 1/8. So if I was sharing this candy bar, for me personally, I want more of it, I'm going to share it with 3 people, I'm going to get the bigger chunk out of it because I have 4 thirds in here. So each one of these is a third, this one's a fourth, and this one's an eighth. So think about when you're looking at these fractions, your denominator is kind of how many equal parts you have to break it up into. And then the numerator tells you how many total parts. So we would have 4 thirds. And then we can take a look at that. It's just a different way to think about this, to visualize what these fractions look like if you think they might be challenging. That was a lot. I did a lot of talking, did a lot of thinking up here. I'm kind of tired. Oh, you already know what's coming next. I'm excited. You know what's coming. Your turn. All right, but I kind of flipped the script on you a little bit this time. You don't have to draw out pictures, but what I do want you to do is to take a look at each set of fractions that's up here, and I want you to determine is the first one greater than, less than, or equal to the second fraction. So is 4/5 greater than, equal to, or less than 2/5? 3/7 to 6/14, 7/10 to 3/8, 3/4 to 3/5. Go ahead, you already got the pencil out, I know it. You already got the paper ready to rock and roll. Go ahead, write these fractions down. Use a strategy that might be helpful to you. You might use some benchmark, which we kind of talked about, to help you guys in these areas. Go ahead, pause the video, and we'll see what you come up with. All right, let's take a look at these bad boys up here. We're going to take a look at our first fraction. I have 4/5 and I have 2/5. So the first thing that Mr. Lanier says to himself is, well, I know the denominators are the same. They're both fifths. I just drew a picture the last time, breaking up into equal parts. So if I have a candy bar and there's 5 equal parts, if I'm only getting 2 here and my friends here are getting 4, 4/5 is going to be more or greater than 2/5. Now, some of you might be used to using percents or decimals. And you might say, hey, Mr. Lane, I know something here. When you're working with fifths, each fifth is the same thing as 20%. And Mr. Laner would say, you're exactly right. So if I have 4 out of 5, each fifth is 20%, so 4/5 is the same thing as 80%. And if you have 2/5, it becomes 40%. So I could look at 4/5 and 2/5 and turn it into percents and say 80% is greater than 40%. Think of it like a quiz. If you get 4 out of 5 right, that's going to be greater than getting 2 out of 5 right. So just a different way to think about it in terms of these fractions. Let's move on to our next guy here. 3/7 and 6/14. Well, now I notice that my denominators are different. So I got to do a little examining here. I got to go all criminal minds and CSI on this problem again. All right, well, I do notice something here. If I double my numerator 3, I get 6. And if I double my denominator 7, I get 14. So I know that these two fractions are equivalent, which means they're equal. I know you guys knew that. Piece of cake, right? All right, let's try a couple other ones on this side now. 7/10 and 3/8. This is a little more challenging, but I mentioned the benchmarks. Benchmarks like 0, a half, a whole, to see if we can use those to help us. Well, 3/8 I might not know off the top of my head. But I do know that 4/8 is a half, right? I know you know that too. But 3/8 means it's a little bit less than half. Okay, so I got this guy kind of figured out. Let's examine this one. 7/10. All right, well, 5/10 would be half of, or 5/10 would be half. So if I have 7/10, I know it's more than half. So if this is more than half, and this is less than half, more than half has to be greater than. So 7/10 is greater than 3/8. So that's where you can use the benchmark fractions to help you guys out as well. On to our last guy. I know, it's been a long one. We have 3/4 again, he's back, and 3/5. So now, this is where we're talking about our candy bars again. If I break up my candy bar into fourths, and I'm sharing it with 3 people, and you have a candy bar, and you break it into 5 equal parts, and you're sharing it with 3 people, which one is going to be greater? 3/4 is going to be greater because I have 3 pieces, but I'm only sharing it with 4 people. Whereas you have 3 pieces, you gotta share it with that extra guy, that 5th guy. So you're gonna get less. You could also do those the percents from the fraction. You might know, yeah, 3/4, Mr. Lane, that's 75%. And I would say, you're exactly right. And you might also say 3/5. Well, hey, we did fifths over here. Each fifth is 20%. So 20, 40, 60%. So I might say that 75% is greater than 60%. Again, it's a different way to think about these fractions. You could have also drawn out pictures like we did earlier with the candy bars if it doesn't make you too hungry. But you can draw out pictures as a visual. You can use percents, you can use benchmark. Remember, whichever strategy works for you, choose that strategy. Again, everyone learns in a different way. Whatever works for you might be different than what works for somebody else. Thank you for tuning in to Mr. Lander's Math Extravaganza. As always, you already know. We'll see you next time.